In our number 10 spot today, we have the Dybbuk box. The chest, which was originally just an ordinary wine cabinet, is said to have been inhabited by a Dybbuk, in Jewish folklore, a hostile spirit that invades the bodies of the living and manipulates them for wicked deeds. The box started to attract recognition in 2001 when it was listed for sale on eBay. The seller explained that he had purchased it at the estate auction of a woman who had endured the Holocaust. When he first unlocked the box, he discovered two 1920s pennies, a strand of blonde hair tied with a cord, a strand of black hair bound the same way, a tiny figurine etched with the Hebrew word shalom, a small golden wine goblet, one dried rosebud, and a lone candle holder with four tentacle-like legs. After obtaining the box, the man recounted eerie events such as horrifying nightmares for him and anyone who stayed nearby or made contact with it. When he gifted the box to his mother for her birthday, she suffered a stroke the very same day. The object later ended up in the possession of Zach Bagans, a paranormal investigator, and now sits inside his haunted museum. The box gained even more infamy in 2018 when Post Malone touched it and, according to reports, has been coping with misfortunes ever since. Number 9, we have the Iceman. This one is not an artifact, but a mummy, once a real human being. Yet it still deserves a place on this list because the tale is chilling. The mummy of Ötzi, also called the Iceman, was uncovered in 1991 in the Ötztal Alps of Italy. Scholars believe Ötzi lived around 3000 BCE, and his body was preserved by the surrounding glacier. While the discovery was remarkable, it might have carried an ancient curse waiting to be unleashed. Strangely, several individuals involved in the find passed away under unusual conditions. Within a single year, 7 people connected to the discovery had died. For instance, molecular archaeologist Tom Loy, who was writing a book about Ötzi, developed a blood disease soon after beginning his research and later died. Helmut Simon, the tourist who first spotted the mummy, fell to his death while hiking in the same mountains. Dieter Warnecke, the leader of the rescue squad assigned to locate the body, suffered a fatal heart attack at just 45 years old, only an hour after Simon's funeral. These are just a few of the alleged victims of the Iceman's curse. Perhaps disturbing a man who had rested undisturbed for over 5,000 years wasn't the wisest decision. At number 8, we find the Hope Diamond. This stunning, unusually large blue jewel is valued at an astonishing $250 million. Even if you had the wealth to purchase it, folklore suggests you shouldn't, as it supposedly carries a curse. The story traces back to the 17th century. The stone was allegedly stolen from the eye of a statue of the Hindu goddess Sita. Since then, every possessor of the 115-carat diamond has supposedly met with calamity, misery, or violent death. Accounts include suicides, murders, and even tales of owners being torn apart. One of the most horrifying ends imaginable. Replicas of the stone exist today, but personally, I would avoid even those, just to be safe. At number 7 is Robert the Doll. While Annabelle often takes the spotlight, Robert is equally terrifying. Robert was a childhood present from a grandfather to his grandson, Robert Eugene Otto, known as Gene. Growing up, Gene's parents often overheard him in his bedroom, speaking with 2 distinct voices. At night, they sometimes woke to Gene screaming, finding him terrified among overturned furniture. Gene always blamed Robert. He held on to the doll into adulthood, carrying it everywhere and treating it as a living companion. As an adult, Gene lived in the artist house, where Robert was frequently seen in an upstairs window. Neighborhood children swore the doll appeared and disappeared, leading them to avoid the house. After Gene's death in 1974, the house and Robert were sold to a woman named Myrtle. Visitors often claim to hear giggles and footsteps in the attic where Robert sat, or even to witness his expression change when someone insulted Jean. Myrtle said the doll would move through the house on its own. After 20 years, she donated him to a museum. There, Robert remains locked in a glass case, yet it's said he curses those who photograph him without asking permission. The walls near his case are covered with letters from frightened visitors begging for his forgiveness. At number 6 sits the Atlantis Ring. Originally fashioned from clay, it was discovered in 1860 in Egypt's Valley of the Kings, within the tomb of a high priest. It later came into the hands of archaeologist Howard Carter, who kept it until his death in 1939. The ring, believed to be 5,000 years old, bore mysterious geometric markings unlike traditional Egyptian designs. Carter later led the team that opened King Tutankhamun's tomb, and while nearly every other member died under suspicious circumstances, Carter survived. He claimed the Atlantis ring protected him from the tomb's curse. Some now call it an anti-cursed artifact. Replicas are sold, but whether they hold any power is unknown. At number 5, we have Thomas Busby's chair. In 1702, Thomas Busby of Thirsk, North Yorkshire, murdered his father-in-law after a dispute sparked when the older man sat in Busby's favorite chair. Before his execution, Busby cursed the chair, proclaiming that sudden death would befall anyone who dared sit in it. Over the centuries, numerous people who sat in the chair supposedly met untimely ends. Today it hangs from the ceiling in the Thirsk Museum, so no one can ever sit in it again. At number 4, we revisit Annabelle the doll. Unlike the porcelain horror of the movies, the real Annabelle is a simple Raggedy Ann doll, now sealed in a glass case at the Warrens Occult Museum. The doll was originally gifted to a nursing student named Donna. Donna and her roommates soon noticed it moving to different spots around their apartment. Later, handwritten notes reading "Help" appeared. A medium told them the doll was possessed by the spirit of a girl, but Ed and Lorraine Warren later declared it to be a demon. After failed exorcisms and a violent attack on a visitor, Annabelle was locked away permanently. At number 3 is Uluru Rock, also called Ayers Rock, in Australia's Northern Territory. Sacred to the Anangu people, visitors are urged not to remove stones from the site. Those who ignore this warning often experience terrible misfortune, illness, or even death. The curse is said to be so powerful that the park rangers regularly receive mailed packages returning stolen rocks, accompanied by letters of apology. At number 2 stands the Bassano vase. Forged of silver in 15th century Italy, it was given as a wedding gift. On her wedding night, the bride was found dying, clutching the vase, cursed it with her last breath. Subsequent owners also died mysteriously. Hidden for centuries, it resurfaced in 1988 with a note reading, "Beware, this vase brings death." The warning was ignored, and again each new owner perished soon after. Its current whereabouts remain unknown, and perhaps that's for the best. Finally, at number 1 we have the Goddess of Death statue, also called the Woman from Lem. Carved from limestone around 3500 BCE, it was unearthed in Cyprus in 1878. Every family who owned it suffered relentless tragedy. Within 6 years, the first family lost all 7 members. The second owner's family also died. A third family gave it to the Royal Scottish Museum, where it resides today. Even the curator who handled it was killed shortly afterward. The artifact seems to radiate a deadly curse that spares no one.